Welcome back to Ask Abundance. Today, I am joined by Rebecca Smith. Rebecca is a limitless practice grad who came aboard Team Abundance. She's got a premium fee private pay practice in New Orleans and is great at helping abundance therapists imagine what's possible for them. Here is today's question. I started my practice because I wanted more freedom, but lately it feels like I've built something I'm constantly trying to get a break from. Even when things are fine, I catch myself counting down to weekends, cancellations, or the next vacation, like that's the only time I get to breathe. I don't want to hate my work, and I definitely don't want to keep restructuring my life around my caseload. How do I stop building a practice I need to escape from and start building one I actually want to live inside of? I love the way that that question's worded.
I do too.
um, and before we get into it, I want to thank TherapyNotes for sponsoring Ask Abundance. I've talked about them for years, know their features by heart, but what truly sets them apart is that they genuinely care about your experience. It's not just about troubleshooting, they actively implement user suggested features like clinical outcome tracking and their AI Notes feature Therapy Fuel. Everyone at TherapyNotes believes in the product and wants you to love it too. Plus, they're independently owned, which means no venture capital and no pressure to prioritize investors over customers. This independence allows them to keep their prices fair, to focus on innovation, and prioritize customer experience. With over 100,000 therapists already on board, they've proven that you don't have to compromise success for quality. If you're ready to see for yourself, try Therapy Notes free for 2 months with the code ABUNDANT at therapynotes.com. All right, Rebecca, what stood out to you about this question?
Let's hop in. This question is so tough because it really feels like exactly what they said. They're trying to escape their practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it feels really like unsure of, I guess, kind of why. Like what is it that's not working?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my question too. Like, is this somebody that switching a niche would make a really big difference? Like,
Right.
sometimes we take on, and I see this a lot with trauma therapists specifically, of like they take on this niche of trauma therapy because they're great at it. It's a
Yeah.
population they really care about. And then that can get really, like it can really burn you out.
Yeah.
It's a hard population to work with for a lot
Hmm.
of people. And so often switching their niche to something that is aligned, but maybe less intense.
Yeah.
So maybe, anxiety related, but or depression related, just something that's just less intense
Yeah.
can make a really big difference.
Hmm.
So that was my first thought when I read this.
Yeah, I when I was reading this too, I also felt like it was a clinical question more than a businessy question
Hmm.
until it got to the part I don't want to keep restructuring my life around my caseload. And,
Right.
and maybe that's not quite the issue, but I do want to highlight that one of that seems like there needs to be some more boundary setting. They talk
Hmm.
about like I'm counting down to weekends cancellations and the next vacation. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, you might need more vacations. Like you might
Right.
need a, and if the hard thing about being in private practice, especially a solo private practice, taking a break means taking a loss of income. And so you probably aren't scheduling enough, honestly,
Hmm.
which then means with this trickle down way, which then means you're maybe not charging enough to be able to compensate for an appropriate amount of time off.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's a good point that like I've heard because I read it and I was like, oh yay, they're taking vacations. But we don't know if next vacation means
3 years.
December. Yeah, like
In
yeah.
2034, I said I was going to go to Europe. You're like, okay, we got to do this something in 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, the restructuring my life around my caseload, that's another thing. Is like if are you working times you don't want to work or
Yeah.
days you don't want to work? And if you are, that's truly a pretty easy fix. It feels really scary, but the
Yes.
vast majority of clients are going to stay with you at a different time or on a different day. Um, so yeah, I would instead of restructuring your life around your caseload, encourage this person to restructure their caseload around their life.
Hmm.
Um, I don't get the sense that they're like missing things that are important to them, like I never get to go to my kid's recital or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
I don't get that sense, but it still sounds like their practice is kind of the driving force in their life.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because they're just like unhappy in it or if it's structured that way.
Hmm. I can't remember if you'd give me so much advice. I can't remember if you said something about this or from somewhere else, but it was talk. I have this thing in my head of like thinking about your calendar and being really intentional about everything in your calendar. So yeah, your caseload, but also going for a run, like when you
Hmm.
have to pick up your kid, did you do your book club, blah blah blah.
Yes.
And the idea of like if you have a jar and you're trying to fill it with rocks for some
Hmm.
reason, which you're going to put these big ones in first and then you're going to fill in with littler ones and then some sand, right?
Hmm.
For a lot of therapists, your caseload is the biggest rock, but it doesn't have to be like that.
Yes, it does not have to be like that. Your
No,
life
yeah.
should be like your life things are the big
Yes,
rocks. Hmm.
absolutely. You do only have 24 hours in a day, but like sleep, biggest rock. Big old rock
Yes.
right there.
Hmm.
And then also, like, when do you want to prioritize you? When do you want to prioritize your relationships or your friends or your family, or your puppy dog,
Hmm.
in the background? And make those big rocks first, plop those in your schedule, and
Hmm.
then see what does it look like to like fill in the caseload around that,
Yes.
and then go from there.
I was actually speaking with a therapist earlier today she's just working her tail off and she's like, I don't want to talk to anybody by the time I'm done with my workday. Like I definitely don't want to have any small talk, but I don't want to have any big talk either.
Yeah.
Like I just want it to be quiet. And most of
Your
us
partner
don't.
comes in and I don't care about your day is not good for
Yeah.
your relationship.
Yeah. That's a sign that your rocks are the wrong size. And yeah. I mean, most of us don't come home to a household or a life that is then quiet for the rest of the day. Um, most of us have some
No.
chaos going on when we get home. So, making sure that your practice isn't outsized,
Hmm.
in terms of priority in your life. Like, yes, it is your livelihood and it is an important job, and your life is more important. Your life is
Yeah.
more important, period. I love being a therapist, but
Yeah.
my family's more important. My sleep is more important.
Your health is more important. Yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm.
And like figuring that out over the course of the year too, like give yourself enough time working but not in session to like really brainstorm what do I want this to look like and know that next year you should do that again. You should
Mm-hmm.
change it year to year, even just a little bit based on your current needs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that constant shifting is really important.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that constant shifting is important. And it's something that most of us don't take the time to be quiet and still and do. We
Hmm.
just stay on the train.
Yeah.
And if you were just like on the train of your private practice, except for those moments when you're off because you've got your weekends or your vacations or whatever, I think this is a good opportunity to schedule some time that is
Yeah.
a non-clinical workday
Yeah.
to think through like, what do you actually want? Because you can have what you want, you just have to know what it is.
Yeah. And do it frequently. You could do it quarterly, but I always do have I have a note every year in my calendar, sometime in like usually early October. That's like, what does next year look like?
Hmm.
Because then you're going to want to plan how you do it and tell your clients in November and December to make a January change.
Yes. It's so I think it probably was me with the whole calendar thing because my
I think it
calendar
was. Yeah.
looks crazy. But like one of the things, for instance, every May, or actually it's mid-April, I have a note for myself in my calendar that I cannot miss. That's like, remember that May is so busy. And you need to scale back on work stuff because there are 43 end of school year parties and like 72 volunteer opportunities that you're voluntold what to do. And like all these things that in order to, show up for my kids the way they want me to show up and, you know, bake whatever thing or go to the store to get a baked good or whatever, like to make sure that I am doing what I want to do to help them celebrate the end of the school year. It's done.
Yeah.
And I don't know why so many kids are born in May. One of mine is, but there's also like 1,000 birthday parties during the busiest month of the year. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, May is like my December. So I I remember that every year that like, if I'm
Yeah.
taking 2 weeks off at the end of the year because December is so intense, um, why am I acting like everything's normal in May when for me it's typically busier, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So amazing. Okay. I hope that this
Absolutely.
was helpful for this person. If you're listening to this question, you're like, this sounds like me. Like I definitely need to make some changes in my practice. It's full, it's thriving on paper, but it's not what I want and need it to be. Then limitless practice might be a good fit for you. I'm gonna put the link for that in the show notes and in the for the pod and in the caption. We
Yes.
also have a great worksheet that kind of speaks to what we were just saying of like you can have what you want, but you need to know what it is. And it's a build the right practice thing. It's going to ask you these questions about what you actually want in your practice. So if you're taking one of these like non-clinical work days, it's a good time to go through this worksheet. It's free. I'll put the link for that in there as well.
Yeah.
Yay. Thanks so much,
Yay.
Rebecca. I'll see you
Thanks, Alice.
later.
Bye.